Am I the asshole for yelling at my girlfriend for baking a dessert for a dinner party? Disclaimer, this is not my story. Throwaway because her brother follows my main Reddit page. I, 26 male, have been dating my girlfriend Rosie, 23 female, for a year now. Rosie and my mother do not get along. It's just about the fact that their personality differences are so large. My mom is a more conservative and reserved person, and Rosie is the opposite of that. My mom is a really picky person and has never been happy with anyone I dated over the years, but I usually ignore her because it's not her life. Yes, I always shut down my mother's snarky comments about anyone I date. On to the problem. Tomorrow night my mother is hosting a dinner party for everyone in our family. I'm not sure about other families/cultures, but usually when we throw a dinner party, everyone will bring something. I thought this was the perfect time for Rosie and my mom to get along better. I told Rosie that she should home make something. I also made something. My mother hates anything sweet, so I told Rosie to refrain from baking any desserts. Rosie said she wanted to bake something because it's what she does best when it comes to the kitchen. I told her to look up a recipe on Google. She was quiet, and about an hour later, I came downstairs because I could smell something sweet. I found Rosie piping macaron batter. I freaked out, like for part 2. Part 2 of Am I the Asshole for yelling at my girlfriend for baking a dessert for a dinner party? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I started yelling about how I told her specifically not to make anything sweet because it was her one chance to get on my mother's good side. I feel like she made it only to be petty. She got upset and told me not to raise my voice at her and that she was not going to do it to be petty. She said she doesn't care what my mother thinks and that my mother is not the only guest at the dinner party. I got frustrated and made the mistake of telling her to stay home instead, and she told me that she would, and that she now would not go no matter what, even if I changed my mind. I regret telling her that because if she doesn't go, my mother really will not like her. But am I the asshole for telling her not to bake something sweet?
Am I wrong for pretending to be a sugar baby to humiliate someone? I, a 31 female, recently moved into my boyfriend's 42 male house. We've been together 5 years. I'm friendly with almost all of his friends except for his best friend's girlfriend who hates me. I'll call her Elle. Elle thinks I'm a gold digger. My boyfriend does make a lot more money than me, but I have a decent job, work hard, and I make okay money. Part of the reason she thinks this about me might be because we've got different backgrounds. He and most of his friends grew up wealthy and I grew up working class. She's forever making little digs at my background. I'm from a poorer part of the country with a strong accent and trying to pass it off as banter. For the record, I banter with my boyfriend all the time about our backgrounds. She doesn't do this in front of my boyfriend, and I've never really brought it up with him except for in passing because I just find it funny. Since I moved in with him, she's made non-stop comments to me about how I must be so happy I've bagged him because I never have been able to live in a place like this otherwise. She sounds like she wants your man, if I'm being honest. She wants to be you. That's the problem. People who talk like that are jealous people. Like, why does she care? Because she wants to be you. When people care that much, that means they are jealous. A few weeks ago, she even told me she was expecting me to announce a pregnancy to lock him in. I can't have children, but she doesn't know that. When she said that, it got to the point that it was no longer funny to me, so instead of laughing it off like I normally do, I decided I'd just play along. The next time she made a comment, I just smiled and placed a hand on my stomach. She looked shocked but didn't say anything. A little later on, she commented on how stressful it must be to not have a full-time job. So I just said something like, well, I won't need to worry about that soon, and kind of smiled again. I'm not sure why I thought this was a good idea, but I was enjoying how angry it was making her, so I kept doing it. That's because it is a good idea. I love it. Last Friday, at a meal out with my boyfriend and a group of friends, things came to a heat. I wasn't drinking, and in the middle of the meal, she brought it up and said something like, "It's weird to see a person from your region sober." I laughed it off, but then she kept asking why I wasn't drinking, even after I said I was on a diet. Eventually, she just blurted out, "You must be happy you're expecting, Miles, but I thought you didn't want kids." I pretended to be shocked and looked over at Miles and said, "Actually, I can't have children." Literally, everyone was silent. I got up and left, and Miles followed me. She was apparently mortified. At that moment, it felt great, but on reflection, I think I might have taken it too far. I've since heard that her boyfriend is sleeping at a different friend's house, and the rest of the group aren't talking to her. I'm feeling more and more like an asshole, and I'm wondering if I should come clean and tell everyone I deliberately misled her into thinking I was pregnant. My boyfriend knows this and thinks she had it coming. So, am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that she should marry her boyfriend before moving together with him and telling her she should have involved me more? Disclaimer, this is not my story. My 55 female daughter, 23 female, and her boyfriend, 23 male, have been together for 4 years and have to move to a different city. My daughter decided it was a good idea to move in with her boyfriend to get to know how it is to live with him. She told me about this over the phone, and at first I didn't say much because I had to process the information. I didn't want to intervene because I don't want to be the mean mother who forbids her kids everything. She didn't tell me anything more until 2 weeks ago when she visited us and told me that her boyfriend was going to look at some apartments. I told her she should reconsider it because I don't want her getting pregnant and ruining her studies. I also said that she should marry him first. My daughter more or less brushed it off and said that they don't have to live together to do it, and that moving together doesn't have anything to do with that, and she was sensible enough to not get pregnant. I told her that if she has to move in together to know if her boyfriend is the right guy for marriage, she shouldn't move in with him at all. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that she should marry her boyfriend before moving together with him and telling her she should have involved me more? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I said she should know him by now, and anything new she discovers about him are little things where you have to compromise. And her boyfriend should at least compromise and marry her. My daughter got upset saying I wasn't considering her opinion in this. The next day she came to me and told me her boyfriend had visited an apartment and they got it and showed me some pictures. The breaking point was a couple days later after she called me to tell me that she and her boyfriend had signed the rental agreement. I was furious. I told her that I found it unfair that she didn't involve me and my husband in this whole thing. It shows how much she values us and our opinion. She didn't want to hear any of it and said that she involves us enough. I tried to talk some sense into her, but she wouldn't have any of it and basically blamed me for not getting involved. She said I should have told her I wanted to talk about it in person and shouldn't have remained silent on the phone. And that we only support her when she does what we want her to do, which is not true. My husband said I shouldn't have brought it up and just let her be, especially because exams are coming up.
Am I the asshole for getting a bartender fired for not serving a pregnant woman? I'm 23 and I bartend on the weekends for some side cash. A few weeks ago, a woman came into our bar and she looked about 7 to 8 months pregnant. For context, I'm one of the head bartenders. I was minding my own business training a new hire around 4 or 5 p.m. and one of the other bartenders, she was 19, came up to talk to me about a ridiculous customer she had. That customer being the pregnant woman. She wanted a glass of red wine, and Annie, who was 19, refused to serve her and suggested that she leave. I looked at her like she had two heads. Even if someone looks pregnant, you still have to serve them, or that can be a discrimination lawsuit waiting to happen. As much as I didn't like it, I got her a glass of wine and minded my 2 cents. I went back to training the new hire. When Annie saw the woman with a glass of wine, she asked if we could talk in the back. She went on a rant on how I'm a baby killer and I'm a terrible person. At this point, the other staff members saw this going on and minded their business. And a few girls started to cut it out. I told her whether we like it or not, we have to serve the woman. Plus, we didn't know the woman's medical history. Over the next 2 weeks, Annie went on a triad about how terrible I am. I'm a baby killer, going to hell, etc. I reported her. She got fired.
Am I the asshole for pulling out of my best friend's wedding because I'm not the maid of honor? My 27 female best friend, 25 female of 10 years is getting married. My friend lost her father and her 2 sisters in a tragic car accident 7 years ago. I was her shoulder to cry on, and she became attached to me as a second sister. And she grew closer to her only living sibling, her brother. She doesn't talk much about her relationship, so I was excited and surprised when she showed us her engagement ring. Maybe it was presumptuous, but I thought I was going to be her maid of honor. She didn't bring it up after her announcement, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Fast forward to yesterday. Am I the asshole for pulling out of my best friend's wedding because I'm not the maid of honor? Our group of friends got together and one brought up a conversation about the wedding. My best friend said she was planning on formally inviting all of us to be in her wedding party. I asked her who was going to be the maid of honor, thinking it was going to be me, but she said she chose her brother, 29 male, instead. I blew up and told her it was ridiculous. She was going to choose her brother to be her man of honor. She looked upset, reminding me of how much her brother means to her. I reminded her that I'm her best friend and she's taking this opportunity from me. She cried and apologized but said her mind was made up. So I told her I'm not attending. Am I the asshole for walking out on my job? I recently found out that my partner is pregnant and we have decided that we'll be moving closer to our families. Monday I sent out a resignation letter to my 2 bosses stating a 3-week notice. One of them proceeded to ask me if the pregnancy was real or not, or if I was making it up as an excuse to leave. You guys, listen to this. Then proceeded to tell me that we would likely miscarry. Then they said that I was screwing them over and that I had no reason to leave so soon. I processed that for a day and thought it was very disrespectful and professional. I honestly feel like this person needs to lose their job because I'm sorry, but this story is just so sick. Am I the asshole for walking out on my job? They proceeded to tell me that we would likely miscarry and told me I was screwing them over and had no reason to leave so soon. I processed that for a day and thought it was disrespectful and unprofessional. Yeah. So I called boss number 2 and they backed number A. They felt that I needed to verify the pregnancy and that I was being unresponsive. Just now, I sent off an email stating that I would not be returning to the office tomorrow, as you should. For context, I'm managing one of 3 locations with no other support employees at my shop. I'm not even going to read the rest of this because it's just so insane to me.